Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for April 15th, 2022. I am Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating, and also on the call are Aaron McHale, Christina Chumias, Ralph Kohler, and Thomas Howell. Smaller group than we've had recently, but a bunch of people who've been interested in these meetings for a long time. I haven't seen any suggestions on the issue or in Slack, but there is one leftover issue from a comment on last week's issue. And Derek or DWW would like us to review this issue, which I've opened up in a tab over here. For the sake of the recording, this is 327-3009, and the title is to improve the UX of security coverage status report messages. And unfortunately, I had some snafus when trying to spin up a local copy of Drupal. I didn't quite have time to finish before the meeting started. So I don't know if someone else would like to spin up a copy of a Drupal 9.2 site while I start talking, then maybe you can take over the screen share. But for now, let's see if we can work through based on the screenshots. And with a little bit of cheating, you can get this status message: Drupal core security coverage covered until 2022-NOV, November. And if you're currently running 9.2, that's still supported. 9.3 is the current version, and 9.4 is scheduled for release in June, I think. I think the comment says ignore the actual date used there. That's part of the faking for testing. So normally it would say updated until June of 2022, I think. And it says update to a supported minor version soon. To continue receiving security updates, visit the release cycle overview for more information on supported releases. And that's sort of missing some key details. So there's no clear indication of why a site is covered or not without reading the fine print. So you'd actually have to follow the link to the release cycle overview and then read stuff there. And the suggestion is that this could be solved by just adding the Drupal version to the string. So let's look at the second proposed screenshot. And instead of just saying covered until some date, say Drupal 9.2 is covered until 9.4.0. So that's the proposed new text. It no longer has a date. So comparing the two, covered until 2022-NOV versus Drupal 9.2 is covered until 9.4.0. And then it says update to a supported minor version. That's the current string, and the proposal is update to 9.3 or higher soon to continue receiving security updates. And that portion of the sentence hasn't changed. And visit the release cycle overview. I think that also hasn't changed for more information on supported releases. So that's the first comment in the issue summary. And then the second is, for the last minor release in the series, it still says update to a supported minor version soon, but actually they need to do a major update. We can improve this simply by taking out the word minor. So let me open the last two screenshots. And let me rearrange them. Let's see, did I rearrange them correctly? This is the current one. This is the proposed one. So I guess this is pretending that there is no 9.3 or 9.4. This is the message you would receive if you have to update to Drupal 10 after this version. So it's going back to the date-based string 2022-NOV, but it still says the currently installed version. So it's still adding that to the message. And then finally, you get an error message after security coverage ends. And I suppose this is whether or not it's the final minor. So that's a lot of different possibilities. And let's, I guess, focus first on these first two options. I wish I could get them both on the same screen. First, any questions about the point of all this? These are the messages that appear on the site status report. And any comments on these first two screenshots? Covered until 2022-NOV, as opposed to Drupal 9.2 is covered until 9.4.0.
It all makes sense to me. It looks good.
Could you go please back to the overview page, please? Let me see everything at once. Yeah, thank you.
Actually, if I just zoom in a little bit here, that's probably much easier than
yeah, that's fine.
Switching between tabs. Unfortunately, you know, the current version. Okay, I can fit the current version and the proposed version on the screen at the same time. So I'm not totally satisfied with this proposed text. First of all, if you're going to make it a complete sentence, then you should end it with a period. And secondly, I think until 9.4.0 seems wrong to me. I would say Drupal 9.2 is covered until 9.4.0 is released.
Or would it be viable to say Drupal 9 is covered, 9.2 is covered until the release of 9.4.0 in November 2022, that there is also the time scope or scale, or how you say it, and that the site administrator has some sort of expectation and time to plan when reading that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think losing the date is a bad thing. So now we have the traditional problem of trying to balance keeping things short with trying to provide more information. And I guess we have some flexibility. We'd like to keep that initial line short. And we can put more details in the second line. So let's see, maybe since I'm only sharing a browser window, what I could do is open a Google Doc so that I could do some typing. Let me just quickly do that in another browser window, and then I can move the tab to the one that I'm screen sharing. So actually, well, you can't see, I'm going to type something into this.
I have two very minor thoughts. The first of which is whatever short message we come up with, I'd prefer not to end on a version number. So both of the suggestions thus far didn't end that way, and I like that. I've always find it very confusing when you put a period at the end of a number that has minor revisions in it. So 9.4.0. is confusing to me, even though I know it is absolutely correct. So if we can, despite the desire for shortness, do that, have some words after that. If we want to include a period, I would prefer that. And the other thing is, and this may already be taken care of in what the content we're linking to us as experienced Drupalists, the consequences of not having coverage is very clear. But I don't know if for someone who installed this as a blog, for instance, whether or not they would understand what the loss of coverage would actually mean or entail, what the consequence of it is.
Okay, I think that second part might be out of scope, but let's discuss that later. And let's do a little bit of wordsmithing first. So I think this is pretty much what the proposed text is. And I think that if we make my suggestion, it will also satisfy your objection to ending a sentence with a version number.
Precisely. Both suggestions works, even with the date. So but thank you.
And then to keep things short, maybe just instead of soon, we can put the date in here. I'm not sure I love the format of year dash 3-letter abbreviation, but
one question in regard of the date format. is it only universal, or in case you have a multilingual site and, for example, let's say a German installation, would the format be adjusted, or is it a fixed string?
I'm pretty sure it's a translatable string. So
no, I'm
so,
not meant the string in general, the whole string. I meant the format. So that, for example, before in German, November 2022, for example, because for me as a German, 2020 dash abbreviation for November is odd, and contains a more cognitive load for me, at least.
Okay, I suspect that it's already localized properly. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's also out of scope. That
Okay.
yes, it should be properly localized, and I'm guessing that it probably already is. And if you're worried about that, we can look at it, but let's think about the wordsmithing first, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
So here I've made both the initial line and also the description text a little bit longer. And of course, longer is a bad thing, but I've made the first one a more complete sentence, and I've added important information to the second part. And I do think this is a usability issue, because losing the date information makes the information less actionable. So what do you think of this version?
This is improved from my experience when I was a support engineer. You absolutely want to have a date there, because the vast majority of semi or non-technical people, the giving version numbers is tantamount to not giving information, but a date is definitely actionable. And so that's critical to keep.
The only detail I would be confused about is in the headline, you have Drupal 9 is covered until 9.4.0. And then in the description, you say update to 9.3 or higher before 2022. And what's 2022? It maybe refer back to that 2022 November is the release of 9.4.0 maybe. Otherwise, you have 3 different version numbers and the date, and there's a bit of a disconnect.
So I'm sorry, what change are you suggesting?
The only problem is you have in the title, you have the current version number you have, 9.2, and you have the coverage until 9.4.0 in the title. And then you have in the description update to 9.3 or higher before 2022 November. And there's those are 3 different version numbers and a date, and you don't exactly know to what the date refers to. Is it to 9.4, or is it something between 9.3 and 9.4? Or
So by the way, let me sure. Let me share this. Anyone with the link can.
Speaking of sharing things, I have a Drupal site running with the patch or the merge request. So if you want to look at it, we can.
Thank you. So let's see, chat window. So shall I stop sharing? Do people want to see Aaron's screen, or shall we? I suppose, especially since I just shared the link to the Google Doc, you can all open your own copy. So shall I stop sharing and let Aaron go?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. 1 second. I'm going to find the right window. I think this is the right window. Can you see the issue?
Yes.
Okay. So this is on the status report.
And feel free to just start editing at any one of those copies.
Okay, so with the patch, one of these should be the update notification. Or am I in the right area, or is it a different? It is the status report, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be the site status report.
Let me check. I am actually running the merge request because I'm sure it is.
And what version did you install?
I did 9.2, so I think that's, yeah, it looks like got the latest merge request. So
But if you installed the merge request, then you're installing the latest branch.
right.
Can you go to the top of your status report?
Yeah, I did not think that through. Okay. All right. Well, maybe we can do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, 9.4.0-dev.
Yeah, that was I got too excited.
So an advantage to the old patch-based workflow.
Yeah. Let me just I'm just gonna have to stop the running container so I can delete the database and then switch branches.
Okay.
In the meantime, did you want to go back to sharing the document while I sort this out, or do you want to keep just watching my screen?
Yeah, I guess for the sake of the recording, let's switch back to my
Okay.
screen share.
I will let you know once I'm sure I'm running the right version with the patch.
There we go. Okay, so someone, I think that was probably either Thomas or Ralph, suggested this version at the bottom.
Yeah, that was mine.
So first of all, changing the date format to something a little more friendly, a little bit longer, and adding the release of 9.4.0. So that is certainly clearer. On the other hand, it's a little bit longer, and it's sort of repeating the information. And I guess I would suggest oops. I don't like the release of, I would say before that is released. So what do other people think about these longer versions? If anyone is trying to give an opinion, you forgot to unmute yourself.
I like your version better, Benji.
Okay.
And about the length of, in case, always to try to get a shorter text in regards of the description, it's fine to have those extra words. It isn't that we are still that the goal should be around 40 to 60 characters wide per line and 3-line max, and that is still in that range. So I think it's totally okay and it's clearer that way. So
Okay, can we save a few words, either in the first line or the longer line? So we're repeating some text. Can we avoid that? And when you were counting characters, were you considering the part that I've skipped here?
it's not the whole sentence. Oh, 1 second.
Right, visit the release cycle overview for more information
Okay.
on supported releases.
Well, as they say, 9th time's the charm. You know, my first clue should have been the fact that status report was the top link under reports, because we were all very involved in getting that done and over the line. So when I saw that, I was like, that wasn't in 9.2, but it didn't cross my mind. I do now have a 9.2 site running with patch, but I think because it's the dev branch and not the actual release, it's giving me unknown release date, version 9.3.11 available. There was a problem checking available updates for Drupal. I'm assuming that's because I also didn't have the update manager installed. That was another problem. But I'm going to try changing to a tag release and see if that actually does it. So bear with me.
Okay. So Ralph, are you counting characters? "28 words, 183 characters." So what were you suggesting again? At most 3 lines of 60 characters? Also, I wonder about this "or higher" bit. I mean, if the advice is upgrade before 9.4.0 is released, then 9.3 is the only option, right?
That's true.
So we could save a couple of words just by striking "or higher."
Would make sense.
Oh, I did it.
Yay.
11th times the charm. There we go.
All right, I will stop sharing and let you.
Which is amusing because the patch release is 11. So we got there.
So go ahead and share your screen again. Yay.
There we go. That was way more effort than it should have been.
One brief idea. Removing the "or higher" would be a good step, but would it make sense to write something like update to 9.3 now, or to 9.4.0 on the release in November 2022, so that 9.3 is skipped and the user is going from 9.2 directly to 9.4 as an option?
Could I just check, is the bottom one or like the latest wording on the document?
No, I
No.
think actually the second to the bottom. So let me
Okay.
rearrange this.
Because what I'll do is I'll just plop it into the using the inspector.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is currently our working version, and let's see.
Okay. So it would be, is it for the top one? Yeah, so make sure I'm going to edit the right one. So this one here.
So let me make another couple of versions. So we could just remove "or higher." Oops. Or
So still the bottom one. I'm gonna go with it. Take out all the HTML. Okay, there we go. No, not yet. Almost. There we go. Okay, so that's the latest. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have copied it and made another one below it.
I think you copied while I was in the middle of typing. That N turned into a now, or
Start again. Because what I'll do is I'm just gonna yes. Do I want do I want all of it? I want this. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can duplicate. There we go. And then I'm gonna edit it. And that way we can compare with what's there with what we are proposing. Okay, so we have our proposed one up here, and then below it was the one that's in the patch. Oh, how wonderful is the inspector?
okay. I do like this text. I'm still concerned that maybe it's too long, but maybe it's okay. We're no longer repeating ourselves too much. And the options are pretty clear. 9.3 now or 9.4.0 when it's released.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it like relatively, like it's not significantly longer than what's already there in the patch. Like I would say that's probably within a good tolerance.
I agree.
So update to 9.3 now or to 9.4 in November 2022. The N throws me off a little bit because it's like, do I need to do it specifically in November 2022, or should that be prior to November 2022?
We can't do it before November 2022 because that's when it's going to be released.
Oh, right.
Um,
I'm living 6 months in the future. Don't worry about it. So, but I wonder if like after, because I do think like in is maybe too, like for me personally, well, maybe
here, I'm going to suggest another version on the Google Sheet where I switch seem to have lost a word there. Actually, that's verbose. So
Oh,
So
I
here, my
like,
latest suggestion is to put the date back in the first line. Drupal 9.2 is covered until November 2022, period. And then the longer line, update to 9.3 now, or to 9.4.0 when it is released, to continue receiving security updates.
And I've just copy and pasted that over here.
Thank you.
And it's the, we now have 3 of them.
Yep. So yeah, looking at it there, the top lines are almost exactly the same length, and I guess the extended lines are also almost exactly the same length. So
I like that one better because I think if I was coming to this with like, well, even with knowledge of Drupal's release cycle, like you saw that how that tripped me up like 5 minutes ago, but the title is much clearer that 9.2 is covered until November 2022. Like the one below kind of assumes that that you would have that there's maybe an assumption about when the user knows when 9.4 is going to be released. I mean, I know it's written just directly below it, but I think from a summary text perspective, this is probably easier to understand.
yep.
So I agree 98%. The only thing I would point out is, what does this look like after November 2022? So when you're reading this and it is December 2024 and you've inherited a site, is it really clear at that point that they should actually go to 9.5 or 10 something? Like, that's the only, when you say 9.3 or higher, it could be major version 20 for all the user cares. They can parse up to it by putting such very specific values in. How does it read in the distant future? Because I've definitely seen sites that have not been updated for years at a time.
sure, Aaron, can you go back to the issue? And that's
Mhm.
the subject of some of the other screenshots.
Okay.
So that it turns from a warning message to an error message.
Okay, so
And,
then
and
this
Aaron,
is
can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
so the language is completely different once you passed the ended. So yeah, that totally makes sense then. And scratch what I said, because I'd seen this. I had just forgotten that was also a future state post the release of 9.4. So thank you. Apologies.
Oh, good
Well,
question.
I guess there's some delays there because like if they're not on the, because it says here final minor that is no longer has coverage, you get that error. But if say you're on like a minor, like you're on 9.2.2 or something, like would you still get one of these messages? Or you'd still get the top one, wouldn't you?
So if you're on 9.2.2, so your patch version is known insecure, is that what you're asking about?
Yes. Yeah, like if you're not on the final release of 9, let's say 9.2, if you're not on the final 9.2 release and you're on some like early release, then would you still get the more long-term error message that we can see at the bottom here?
So I think there are two messages, two related ones. One is related to the one we're looking at is related to the security coverage of the minor version you're on. And then there's a second one that will show up if the version you're on is known to be insecure. So they're related, but different. So if you go back to your status report, and can you hide the browser tools?
Yes.
And that core update status is the second one. And
Okay.
it's currently just a warning saying that there's an available update, but if the patch version you're on is insecure, that will turn into an error.
Okay, so you probably wouldn't. So what essentially, the way I understand it, then there's only a limited time when you would see like this error, the top set of error messages, or the warning message. I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, are we agreed that that version at the top, our latest version is the best recommendation?
I agree.
Should we say upgrade to 9.3 now, or should we say upgrade to 9.3 soon?
Well, if it's a warning soon, now seems to be the language I would use in the error message.
Okay, so let me make this soon in the Google Doc.
Soon. Of course, we can't. We don't know for sure. I'm just thinking like we don't know for sure when the 9. We can't really say for certain when the 9.4 release will be. So that's probably as precise as the message can be.
Yeah, I guess it's planned for November 2022. I mean, not really, but that's what we're working with here. So I think we know the month and year when it's scheduled for release, and we've been pretty good about making that happen. But of course, the predictions about the future are unreliable.
Right. I just want to try something. Just want to try putting those 2 sentences on separate lines. See how that looks, because there's a reason in my head for doing this. Oh, I am going to have to edit this element.
I forget, is a single word on a new line, is that a widow or is that an orphan?
I don't know.
It'll depend a lot on the screen width where the line breaks are. But
Yeah.
certainly at the current width, it'll be
Oh.
easier to read if you make it 2 separate lines.
That is big.
Yeah, you made a new paragraph.
Yeah, what were the other ones doing? What does this one do? Does it have any? No, it doesn't. Could do just line breaks.
A widow is a paragraph ending line that fails at the beginning of the following page or column. So separated from the rest of the text and often is paragraph opening line that appears by itself at the bottom of a page or column.
Okay.
Don't close a BR tag. What are you doing? Okay. See, my thinking was like, because there's some links in here. So like release cycle overview is a link. But I would make that more like visit the release cycle overview. At the very least, that should be the link. So we've got the visit in there as well. But whether the whole thing should be the link, so there's more. I'm just thinking about the link text, like if you're tabbing around. But I guess that's not even like.
Well, I disagree with you there, but I'm certainly not an expert on this, but I prefer to keep my links about 2 or 3 words and make them nouns rather than sentences.
Yeah.
So I prefer release cycle overview as the link text. But again, maybe that's just my personal opinion. I don't have anything to back it up.
No, I mean it's probably fine. Okay, yeah, I mean I would let's go with it. I can't think of I don't have a particularly strong feeling.
Can you close the browser tools and then change the width of your window, drag it back and forth a little bit so we can see. I want to compare the version. Not like that.
It got really small.
I want to compare the version with line breaks which is the second one from the top, to the version right above it that doesn't. Oh no,
I took out the line break.
Oh, you took it out. Okay, well, never mind.
I can put it back. Would you like me to put it back?
That is what I wanted to see.
Yeah, okay, let's put it back.
And that will take us pretty close to the end of the hour. So we're not going to have time to consider the other messages in this issue.
Okay.
Okay, so we're comparing the first 2.
Yeah, so the top one has a line break, the next one doesn't.
So at this width, the second one looks better than it did before. It doesn't have a very long first line and a single word on the next line. But can you just wiggle it back and forth a bit? Or is the scrolling going to make that impossible?
I can go wiggly. But I don't know what's going on here. This one disappeared.
Ooh, that's good.
Where are they going? Oh, wait. Oh. Okay, it's interesting. Yeah, they're clickable on small screens, but it's not obvious that they're clickable.
Ooh.
Oh, these are detail elements?
Yeah, I guess they are. Are they? Oh, you can do it on here too.
Well,
That one doesn't work. What are you?
tabs.
It is a detail. Okay. I don't like. Go away. What if I refresh the page and see if they all stay open? I know they're all collapsed.
If you refresh the page, you lose.
No.
Okay. we're at the end of the hour anyway. So thank you all for this this bit of wordsmithing. I think this will lead to a much friendlier message. So I think it's worth the effort. And I think it did help to have more than one set of eyes and brains looking at this at the same time. So I think that was a good use of the meeting. And see you again next week. And I'll be going to DrupalCon after that.
Nice. I wish I was going.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Have a
Thanks.
nice weekend.
Bye.